like, I was gonna go offline for a little bit, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know. We'll see or whatever. You're going. What is that? Is it Heyoka or Indigo or whatever? So people were getting confused with the INFJ stuff, or that maybe they were like overemphasizing that to define people rather than the indigo thing. So that's the that's that personality type stuff from the Enneagram book, and I bought that like over 5-6 years ago or whatever. But anyway, so I've been drawn to, obviously. Yeah, but there's like really funny, I don't know what you want to call it, smart sarcasm. I don't know, like, I don't know what you want to call it. I bought this from a bookstore or whatever. Yeah, and it's kind of like I think of maybe like the personification of like that gray or maybe like androgynous being in a gender. And it can also like be like a part of you, it's like emulating a part of you that's with inside you or whatever. How would it be like manifested if it were like another the other opposite gender or whatever? Yeah, but it's like it's like mirroring you but in the other gender. So yeah. Yeah, especially me being superstitious recently or whatever via what tarot reads we're doing. uh yeah, I know, it's like smart but funny, saying things. uh it's like just direct. So people just not used to just like somebody being direct and being themselves and being, what is that, transparent, open and honest, whatever shapes or forms. Yeah. Especially when you're in a world of narcissists and or the Sixth Sense. What's that movie with the little kid? He says, I see narcissists. So I don't know if it's like this. It's a sixth sense or a seventh sense. Basically, a gentleman in the collective mentioned. Anyway, so this is more like, to me, I think of like the personification, manifestation of someone that's a gray. You think of like it, or someone that's a gray or existing in the gray area. So the vesca Pisces, rather than somebody that's more or less just wanting to feed off of a pass or fail society. I'm not saying that things don't exist for a reason, and I'm not saying that things don't hold spaces for other things for a reason or what have you. Yeah, but it's kind of like, what is that? There's something to be said about it's not so black, looking at reality not so black and white. So that's basically not just looking at reality as a pass or fail society in black and white of Ouroboros. Because when you're just somebody that's building that way or looking at reality or life that way, like, it doesn't open up a space or hold a space at all for people that are at rock bottom or whatever to get up out of the crawling stage and what have you. And it also doesn't allow for people to cultivate their own realities and experiences geared to them on an individual basis or an individual creator basis, which is correct. I know it's probably in actuality to this day and age like still pretty controversial, which is true, and or taboo, because in actuality free will also in and of itself is taboo, But not only that, you come to find out that there is indeed a framework within the reality that you are allowed to work in, and these more or less kind of like unspoken words, which, you know, people won't tell you, but more or less they more or less expect you to, because, you know, narcissists expect you to read their minds. So, you know, it's not, you know, Heyoka's got psychopathy and narcissism, either way you look at it, yes, but it's like, you know, it's, you're still confronted with the fact of believe what you see, and this is what you are looking at. Yeah, so it is kind of weird, but no, there is a gray area. There's got to be, because let's face it, no one would be able to get up off their feet if it was just only a pass or fail society. And I know some people in the collective, more or less for them, it's easier for them because, you know, they're more or less people that are already established or what have you, whatever shapes or forms, versus somebody like myself, you know, that's not, or the little guys, as I like to call them, or underdogs or whatever. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Um, it's like the preservation of you. You got the renegade thing. I know. There's that martyr stuff and whatever, but it's like it's the preservation of that. What is that? Nomad. Yeah. So it's that people, I guess, from what I can see, especially how modern society has been set up, they look down on those that are, what is it, nomads, or gypsies, or things like that. Yeah, you know, you think of like House on the Prairie type people, or you call them wanderers to typically they do you know, or have done, what is that, adultery or prostitution or whatever, adult entertainment, modeling, stuff like that. Yeah, I know. It's like it's not necessarily easy to, you know, reintegrate back into, you know, I don't want to call it modern society, or what's acceptable, you know, you know, needing to, either way you look at it, needing to reintegrate back into society and also conform or what have you. But there's an interesting thing with that too, because it's kind of like there is something to be said about finding out about yourself, getting in tune with yourself, finding out, you know, with that inner genius and cultivating that inner genius, and doing things in such ways that you make it work for you, which, you know, that is always going to be something that only that individual can find out for themselves, and also that only that individual has to do it on their own terms or what have you. So I don't know. I know there's like still fine lines in this fabric of reality, uh you know, where they draw the lines in regards to, from different standpoints, so going forward and back in time, but also, you know, realizing wherever society is at right now, and having to integrate with wherever society is at right now, with, obviously, you know, you have to just do what you have to do. And it will also show you that if you're able to adapt and acclimate to your surroundings, it'll just prove that, you know, what is that, you are who you say you are, or you are what you represent yourself to be, and all those things. We're all, what is it, we're all just mirroring each other in the end of the day. But you know, I mean, you know, finding what works for you. I mean, um it's like somebody that's also too what is it, independent or independent contractor, there's like a grace period and there are gray areas and or gray areas, or what they call loopholes too, within systems. So this the the more intelligent individual, yes, will be able to adapt to change, or it will be able to embrace adaptability, but also use it to their advantage. So, but you also know that you have to go about in conducting yourself within uh, acceptable behavior. And I know there's a fine line between doing things that are illegal versus legal. Yeah, so it is kind of weird. It's like, how much is it? How much, freedom do you really have, or how much does free will indeed actually exist? Yeah, I know. It's like, I've seen some people, they've done videos where they said that free will doesn't exist, and something with also Neville Goddard or Goddard or something mentioning something with free will. There's like books that I still want to eventually invest in or what have you, but I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of a waiting game and a luck of the draw, obviously learning to manage money, being humble enough and living within your means, still being respectful to those around you, whether or not you necessarily get along per se or can relate to one another for whatever reasons. Yeah. But, you can just get lucky, just with like your art. I mean, the other thing is too, so going back to gray areas and loopholes and whatever, it's knowing how to use the system or systems to your advantage to give you leverage, basically. So obviously networking is always like a big thing. And obviously the more people embrace Christ consciousness or the ways of Christ, that's going to also open doorways for anyone and everyone that are like at the bottom or whatever. Yeah, when people start working, wanting to work together and what have you, but also, your talent will speak for itself. The more that you become comfortable in your own skin, the more that you're willing to put yourself out there on a limb, the more that you speak your truth and step into your truth naturally within flow, and the reintegrating the feminine element aspect of things, you'll naturally flourish and blossom as time goes on, and also things get easier as time goes on. I don't claim to be a guru. I'm not a guru in any shape or form, but it's like, yeah, there's plenty of people on and off throughout society, but they don't necessarily talk about it. That go out on a limb, because the only way too that if something will work or not is if you do test runs. Now, they give you a grace period. Like, if you only make so much amount of money and you do test runs like for the month or a week or whatever, it's like you don't have to, what is it, claim or whatever, the taxes and shit. Yeah, so it's like we're still working within those, I guess, limitations or whatever. It's kind of almost like people allow that to actually control their movements more than they realize. So, it's kind of like, obviously after a certain point, like if you end up doing well at something and whatever, it's like, yeah, you're going to have to, whatever, you know, work with the system that we presently have still, or what have you. So, I've been aware of those things, so it's not like I'm not aware. And it's also not that I have an issue with it, and it's not that I am completely opposed to it in a sense that I am in actuality, but at the same time, I know that I have to work with the system and or systems right now. And also it's putting my pride aside in that regard to also help me reintegrate myself back into society, to be able to get up off my feet again, you know. So yeah, I am aware of those things. So um, but yeah, it's kind of like it's like don't let something like that stop you from still moving and trying things. And it's giving people need to be given that space to allow for growth. If you're just someone that's more or less focused on within building in the pass or fail society, that approach to things isn't going to be a priority to you or of a concern, or let alone relevant or important too, because too you have people that are already established, so it's not going to be anything to them per se.
So